So here's a fun game called How Does Your State History Compare? This is inspired by a question that I got from one of my students, which was, what state has the most impressive history? So a lot of times the games I make are inspired by my students, and this was no different. And so I came up with a game that could best assess one state's history in comparison to the other. So I click Start Game, and it works kind of like an interview. You can choose up to 4 states. And let's say for the sake of, and I don't have all the states, I only have 30 of the 50 states. I ended somewhere like Texas or in Oklahoma were the last states I did. So for those of you on the West Coast or in the Pacific Northwest or the Rocky Mountain West, I apologize. I'll try to get your states on the game soon too. So anyway, you have to choose at least 2 states. And let's try, so my home state here, Virginia. And let's have Virginia go up against Texas. And so we're going to compare. We're going to try to figure out what state has the more impressive history, Virginia or Texas. So I click Start Game. And not only this is a great game because it really gets kids familiar with the histories of each state as well, and also gives them sort of a basis for determining the relative importance of each state with respect to the United States history. So I click Start Game, and kids have to assess how important is it that on December 29th, 1846, Texas becomes the 28th state, prompting the Mexican-American War, which would eventually result in the territorial acquisition of much of the western United States. So I believe that's a pretty important event in American history. I'm going to bring that to 8. 1 being completely unimportant, 10 being totally important. So click Submit Answer, and Texas moves 8. How important is that in 1861, this state secedes from the Union and joins the Confederacy? Richmond is made the capital of the Confederacy. And a lot of these don't reveal the actual state until the student gives their rating. This is pretty important in American history as well, Richmond being the capital of the Confederacy. I would probably give it a 7. How important is it that Robert Sieur de La Salle, the explorer who claimed Louisiana Territory for France, is killed by his own men in this state in 1587? Well, I would think to myself, La Salle's explorations were certainly very important in American history, resulting in the French claim of Louisiana Territory. Though him being killed in this state is less important. I'd probably give that a 3. On March 6, 1836, Mexican forces under General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna stormed the Alamo and killed all Texans defending the mission. The Texans staying at the Alamo allows Sam Houston to organize a battle plan against the Mexican army. Well, this is a very intriguing part of American history, the quest for Texas independence, eventually on its way to becoming a state. I'll give this a 7. And for each state, you'll see there are 10 questions that appear, and the kids have to assess the importance of each statement. On December 26, 1813, the Spanish government authorizes Moses Austin to establish a colony in Texas. Before long, Stephen F. Austin, would become in charge of the colony's affairs. Fairly important. 6. And we haven't had many Virginias, but here's a good one. How important is it this state is the site of over 50% of the battles in the American Civil War, including major battles such as those at Manassas, Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville, and many others? To me, this is very important, Virginia being the prime battleground for the entire Civil War. I would be tempted to give that a 9, but I'm going to give it an 8. I'll do 2 more. How important is it that in 1846, American and Mexican forces engaged at the Battle of Palo Alto near modern-day Brownsville in this state? The battle was the first in the Mexican-American War. I think the Mexican-American War is very important in American history. This is the first battle happens in this state. I give it a 6. How important is it that Generals Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, Jeb Stuart, all natives of this state, become 3 of the most important Confederate generals in the Civil War? Well, this question deals with actually people born in the state, and these are 3 very important people in both Virginia and United States history. I'd put that at 7. So anyway, One more. How important is it the state was the birthplace of 8 United States presidents, including 4 of the first 5, Washington, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe? That's even more important. To me, I'm going to give that a 9. And of course, we go to the Kennedy assassination. Very important in American history. It happened in Dallas, Texas. So anyway, you keep going until there are no more questions. And at the end, it'll show you what state has the quote unquote more impressive history. Again, you can choose up to 4 states. That's 40 questions. The game takes a long time. I would do this game at the, I do this at the beginning of my social studies classes on the interactive whiteboard. I'd pick 2 kids who'd be able to give their ratings. And actually, the class would become very excited watching the states move along the racetrack. And it'd also be really enlightened by some of the historical facts that occurred in each state. So this is not meant to be an empirical assessment of state history, but just, a student opinion exercise. And kids actually really enjoy it, and I hope you do too.